The practices that I provide in this project are all practices that I do on a very regular basis. This first practice, I do this practice throughout the day, actually. I do it in the morning when I first get up. If I have the chance to just have a little time before the dogs come find me. And I often do it when I go to sleep at night. I like to do it lying back, but it can also be done in the car. It can be done at the grocery store, wherever we are. It's a great way to check in and notice what's happening inside. The relationship with the breath has got a lot of emotion that gets stored in the breath. I won't say for all of us, but could be for all of us. And there's often times where I will notice how I'm feeling by attending to my breath before I'm even aware of the feeling that's there. So let's come down, lie back. And what I suggest is either having a bolster or blankets under the knees, or you could place a bolster or blankets so that your chest is really supported here. You move the bolster in close to the sacrum and then lie back. And if you try these two, they're so different. You can see expansive across the top chest, or what I would prefer is having the support so I can really let the bones in the body settle. So as we come down, it's nice to place one hand at the belly, preferably the right hand, and the left hand just top chest area. And that provides a little visceral feedback. Allow the body to relax downward. Use gravity to your advantage. Allow the eyes to settle, the jaw to soften. And feeling the breath, inhaling and exhaling out the nose, ideally. If you can't breathe through both nostrils right now, well, ideally, let's just say that, through the nose. So the catch with this is to apply non-judgment to the breath. And the other catch is to not try to change the breath. Allow the breath to be as it is, like a close friend. And as we make our way in, we notice, is the belly rising and releasing? Does it rise on the inhale? Does it release on the exhale? And then notice, is the top chest receiving breath at all? And the catch is, as we begin to look around for where the breath is going inside the body, let's be completely okay with what we find. Just learning how to witness the breath kind of reminds me of being in the forest and seeing a wild animal, and you go in really quick, and what's the wild animal going to do? Well, it depends on the size of the animal, doesn't it? But let's assume it's a small animal. It's going to run. So we make room for the breath. We might notice the texture of the breath, whether it feels a little raspy and dry. Sometimes there will be this kind of chug, chug, chug feeling in the breath, like that. Is it smooth or jagged? If it's jagged, where is it jagged? Is it jagged at the top of the inhale? And then just notice if you're holding the breath in any one place. So it's very common, especially later in the day, to inhale and then to push out the exhale a little bit. Some people have that built in as a habit. So can we just loosen our grip a little bit? We also might notice sometimes we have a tendency to exhale and pause down there at the base of the exhale a long time. There's nothing wrong with any of these tendencies, but they're worthy of investigation. And then we gradually invite the breath to become a little bit longer on the inhale and on the exhale. The catch is to not be impatient, so let it happen. And sometimes when I'm doing this practice, all of a sudden I'll realize there's a little emotion in the breath, maybe. Sometimes sadness can get lodged in the breath, or anger. So we all have our own unique patterns. And we're just witnessing whatever's here, making room for it. Okay, so the next step is once we've got some awareness of a long inhale and a longer exhale, we might notice that there's a pause at the top of the inhale. It's a natural pause. And a pause at the bottom of the exhale. The breath is looked at as 4 parts. Inhale, pause, exhale, pause. The yogic breath practices are playing with those relationships between those 4 segments of the breath. And then the last part of this exercise is to pretend that we could ride the breath like we were surfing. Surfing a wave. You notice the rising and passing of breath. Well, awareness is a little bit like that too, where we invite our awareness, our attention to be placed on the inhale as it's happening. Stay with the inhale as it turns into a pause and then an exhale. So we're practicing present moment awareness by following the flowing path of breath. Knowing full well that the mind wanders because we're human. And we gently get back on the surfboard and ride the wave of breath. Staying right there with it. In the morning, this is a really nice practice because it establishes the kind of breath we would like to have throughout the day. You may have noticed that with stress, the breath tends to shorten. So imagine applying a long, slow, steady breath to whatever circumstance were to arise. It's a way to regulate the nervous system. Allow the body to know and feel our steadiness and our presence. At night, it's a nice practice because often we've lost that long, slow, steady breath, and we can return to that on the way to sleep. So we're not carrying so much of the day into the night. So releasing our awareness of the breath now, just allow the breath to do what it does. When we play with awareness and breath like this, it's like being a hostess. We're throwing a party for our experience. We sweep the front doorstep and we lay out the welcome mat and we allow for whatever is here to be here, meeting whatever arises. Okay, so I hope that practice is really, you find it useful and helpful. And I'll see you again in another breath exercise. Namaste.